We are nearing the end of the 2025 regular season. Based on preseason odds, all 32 teams fell into one of three groups. In my last video, we looked at the teams that surprised us, exceeding expectations. In today's video, we will go over the most disappointing teams in 2025. Now, of course, there are all the bottom dwellers: the Raiders, Jets, Titans, Browns, Giants, and Saints. These teams, although disappointing to their fan bases, weren't expected to be good in the first place, so I'm not going to be talking about them in this video. Alright, with that said, let's jump into it. First up, we have the Washington Commanders.
Second down and 5. End zone picked off.
Back when I made my bold prediction video before the season began, I mentioned how I thought the Commanders would miss the playoffs. One of my main arguments I used was that I felt like their roster wasn't as good as some assumed it was, considering how far they went last year. Plus, rookie quarterbacks often struggle in year 2. Well, clear holes began to show through early. The defense that wasn't very good a year ago couldn't stop a nosebleed after week 1. Jaden Daniels got banged up pretty quickly and was largely ineffective when he was out there this season. He had some moments where he played well, but it's clear that the injuries have affected his play. And as a whole, injuries have seriously hurt this team. The O-line has been banged up, as well as other key players like Terry McLaurin, Austin Eckler, and Zach Ertz late in the season. Regardless of who's been out there, whether it's been Daniels or Mariota, this offense has been consistently mediocre, and they struggle in close games late. It's almost as if every lucky break they caught in 2024 came back to haunt them this season. In 2024, they successfully converted a Hail Mary to beat the Bears to keep their hot start alive. But this year, against the Bears with a 2-point lead in the fourth and a chance to run out the clock, the Commanders suffered a crucial fumble that ended up being the turning point, not just in that game, but for the season. It was the first of 7 losses in a row. Daniels missed most of those games due to injury, and in the only close games during this stretch, Washington lost back-to-back heartbreakers in overtime. The Commanders were expected to be a playoff team. Instead, they weren't even close to making it. Second, we have the Detroit Lions. Back in my bold predictions video, I mentioned my concerns about the Lions losing their coordinators going into this season. The Lions lost 2 A-plus coordinators, which, even if their replacements are decent, it's really hard to replace guys of that caliber. I think that coaching matters too much in the NFL, especially in late close games. I felt like a regression was likely, but at first this didn't seem to be the case. After week 1, the Lions averaged over 40 a game over their next 4 contests. It looked like they had found their rhythm again. However, they began to stumble in big games. They got locked down by the Chiefs, surprisingly lost to Minnesota at home, and then couldn't do anything offensively in Philly. However, the most disappointing part of this season was the Lions' late season collapse. After fighting their way back to 8-5, they completely melted down, losing 3 straight, the last of which was an all-time embarrassing showing. Against the Vikings with their third-string quarterback, the Lions turned the ball over a staggering 6 times, 5 of which came from Jared Goff, and they went on to lose, officially being eliminated from the playoffs. Just a year ago, the Lions finished the regular season 15-2, outscoring opponents by nearly 2 touchdowns per game. This year, they were expected to be one of the best teams in the league again, but instead they fell completely flat in the end. Many point to their injuries and poor coaching playing key roles in their disappointing 2025 season. Next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings.
Another play action, pressure coming. McCarthy steps up, throws, and it's intercepted by Byard.
After the incredible success of the 2024 season, Vikings fans eagerly anticipated 2025 and how things would look with their young quarterback J.J. McCarthy. He had missed his entire rookie season while Sam Darnold played, and he was so good that he got a solid contract with Seattle. Considering Minnesota's offensive weapons and how stacked they are, with some of the best coaching in the NFL on both sides of the ball, the Vikings were expected to win in that 9 to 10 game range, according to odds makers. But it all fell apart once the season was in full swing. Back in my bold prediction video, I also mentioned how I thought McCarthy wouldn't be as effective as Sam Darnold had been for them. But it was even worse than I anticipated. After 7 of the first 8 quarters were completely atrocious football by J.J. McCarthy, he ended up missing the next 5 games due to injury. And during those weeks, the team battled with Carson Wentz until he sustained a season-ending injury. McCarthy then returned and helped the team defeat Detroit to land at 4-4, albeit he only threw for 143 yards that day. Over the course of this season, it became painfully evident that J.J. McCarthy wasn't ready to run this offense. In his first 7 starts, he threw for just 156 yards a game with an atrocious 27.5 QBR. With the combo of the 3 quarterbacks they trotted out there, Minnesota has gone from last season having one of the best offenses to this season having one of the worst. Even Justin Jefferson has publicly admitted how difficult this season has been. Surprisingly, after their abysmal start, the Vikings found their rhythm. At the time of this video's recording, they've won 4 straight to bring their record to a more respectable 8-8. They played the role of the Grim Reaper, pulling the Lions down with them on Christmas Day. It's a positive way for an otherwise disappointing season to end. Looking at J.J. McCarthy's numbers, he's thrown more interceptions than touchdowns, and has had one of the lowest passer ratings in the NFL. There's going to be some uncomfortable conversations to be had this upcoming offseason. And for Vikings fans, what do you guys think that you guys should do with McCarthy? Following the Vikings, we have the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Mayfield throws, and it's intercepted!
This is quite the shocker considering how the season started. Going into 2025, the Bucks were coming off a solid 10-7 season where they had lost to the Commanders in the wild card. Returning most of their key pieces, the Bucks were expected to cruise to a division title and finish with a similar record. And at first, they looked like they were going to blow these expectations out of the water. The Bucks got off to a 6-2 start. Baker looked like an MVP candidate with 4 fourth-quarter comebacks and game-winning drives in that span. Entering their bye week, Baker was hot, Ibuka looked like the Rookie of the Year, and this team seemed like they were on track to lock down potentially the number 1 seed. That's when they started losing. At the time of this video's recording, the Bucks have lost 7 of their last 8 in one of the biggest midseason meltdowns that we've seen recently. This shocked me considering I predicted that they would make the NFC Championship. The defense has been horrendous, and Baker has looked like a completely different player late in the season. Through his first 7 games, he had put up a near 100 passer rating with an impressive 13 touchdown to 2 interception ratio. Now, in his last 7, his numbers have taken a nosedive, as he's been one of the worst starters in that span. Many are calling for head coach Todd Bowles to be fired. Bucks fans, what do you guys think? Up next, the Arizona Cardinals. Coming off an 8-9 season, the Cardinals have been an afterthought franchise for years now. They weren't expected to be dominant by any means, but a similar record to last season was what was predicted. Instead, we saw Kyler Murray get benched by week 5 due to injury and poor play. He was shut down for the remainder of the season, and many feel like his time in Arizona is over. Interestingly enough, they started the season 2-0, but then they dropped 5 straight. Oddly enough, their offense has looked better with Brissett leading the way, with him offering a more traditional quarterbacking approach. Their tight end Trey McBride is having an all-pro season, but their run game sucks and their defense is atrocious. Outside of their tight end and maybe Budda Baker, it's hard to say that there's another redeeming quality about this team currently. It's a bad team that needs to start over. To the Cardinals fans watching this video, what should happen with Kyler Murray this offseason? Up next, the Atlanta Falcons.
Penix with time is intercepted! That's completely on Penix.
In similar fashion, the Falcons finished last season 8-9, and for years have been irrelevant. Their biggest moments of recent include odd decisions like how they signed Kirk Cousins last year to a $100+ million contract, while also drafting Michael Penix in the first round just weeks later. Those bizarre 2024 quarterback moves overshadowed much of 2024, but fans were hoping with how Penix looked near the end of last year that 2025 would bring them some life. Instead, this team's been a travesty. At first, there was some promise, especially after defeating the Bills in an all-around impressive game from this team. Penix looked good, they dominated on the ground, and they defeated the Bills by 10 points. But they proceeded to drop 5 straight after that, which included getting blown out by the Dolphins at home. And the last 2 games in that stretch were both overtime losses. Outside of Bijan Robinson, this offense has been hard to watch. Penix was average and left something to be desired before suffering a torn ACL in game number 9. This was his 5th season-ending surgery in 8 years of college and pro ball combined. With Kirk Cousins, it hasn't been much different. He's had a couple good performances, but this team as a whole, regardless of who's under center, just hasn't been able to play complementary football and win games. The Falcons were expected to win around 9 games, and late in the season they've actually made their record look more respectable. But still, they've been out of the playoff picture for some time now, and questions surrounding who's going to be coaching this team will be at the forefront of the conversation. Falcons fans, what should you guys do at head coach for next season? Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Bengals finished with a winning record the previous 4 seasons, but then Joe Burrow went down with an injury in week 3 that would keep him out for most of this season. During his time out, we watched Jake Browning perform so badly that the team called up the Browns for Joe Flacco, and surprisingly, Flacco played lights out during his 6 starts. But it didn't matter because it didn't translate to wins.
Williams slings it, Williams! Loveland bangs off his man! Colston Loveland!
In 2024, the defense held this team back from making the playoffs, finishing 25th in scoring. In 2025, it's only gotten worse. This defense has been downright pathetic. From allowing 48 to the Vikings to allowing 47 to the Bears, they've been arguably the worst defense in the NFL. It's been so bad that even if Joe Burrow had been fully healthy and playing at his best, they wouldn't have a much better record than they do. Looking into the future, they need to do some serious roster renovations before it's too late and Joe Burrow pulls an Andrew Luck, because at the rate it's going, we're not going to see him play for the Bengals much longer. Unfortunately, knowing the Bengals, they're probably not going to do much to help out their quarterback. This team was expected to win around 9 to 10 games, but their defense truly held them back. And offensively, according to PFF, the Bengals have the 21st ranked offensive line, which has been a continuous theme in the Joe Burrow era. If you're a Bengals fan, what should you guys do this offseason to rebuild this team? Sticking in the same division, we have the Baltimore Ravens. During the Lamar Jackson era, one of the things that's been pretty consistent is if Lamar Jackson is out there, this team mostly dominates in the regular season. But that just hasn't been the case in 2025, and that's mostly linked to the fact that Lamar hasn't been as dominant to cover the holes in this offense, and this defense has regressed badly over the last 2 years.
Dump it off. Got it. Got the first down with Warren. Warren, touchdown, Pittsburgh.
Let's start with Lamar and this offense. He's missed some games due to injury, and the team's done fine in that stretch. He was great until he got hurt. And when he returned after a dominant performance versus Miami, he's not been very effective. It's clear that he hasn't been 100% when he's been out there. Overall, this is his numbers from his first 5 starts, and here are his numbers since. This may be due to a mix of having an average receiver core, poor offensive line play, poor coaching, being banged up, as well as just Lamar playing bad. On the other hand, the defense, like I said, has regressed heavily. 2 years ago, they were the #1 defense in terms of scoring allowed, with just 16.5 points per game. That number shot up to 21.2 last year and is now over 24 this year. A lot of fans blame coaching, injuries, and undisciplined play as key factors as to why this team as a whole is struggling. The Ravens were expected to win 11 to 12 games, and they've definitely fallen short of that. Now, even with all that said, Baltimore's in a win and you're in Week 18 matchup versus Pittsburgh. This could erase their disappointing season by going on a spectacular playoff run, but I just don't see that happening. Ravens fans, do you guys think that you should bring Harbaugh back next year? And lastly, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. Considering the pedigree that these guys have been sitting on for years, many non-Chiefs fans were thrilled when these guys began the 2025 season 0-2. Of course, like many people, I assumed that they would get their crap together, and they did at first, rattling off 5 wins in their next 6 games. However, this year already felt different for them, as by that point, those 3 losses they had were all in close games late. Those were the type of games in 2024 that they continuously somehow kept winning. Like the Commanders, it seemed as if their late game fortune did not transfer over to the 2025 season, and this became very clear after October. Entering 2025, the Chiefs were coming off that Super Bowl loss, and were expected to do what they've been doing every year in the Mahomes era: win a bunch of games and make a deep playoff run. However, key moments, like losing last minute to Jacksonville, getting beaten by Buffalo, suffering a game-losing field goal to Denver, failing to come back in a stunner versus Dallas, and finally putting up a horrendous showing versus Houston has truly cost them. And that loss versus Houston dropped their record to below 500 once again. Then, of course, it officially happened. The Chiefs lost a close game to the Chargers in Week 15 that dropped them to 6-8, officially eliminating them from the playoffs for the first time since 2014. That's just insane to me. I was a freshman in college at the time, and now I'm 30. Now, the real heartbreak here wasn't just that they were eliminated, but also Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL in that game. This is an absolute worst-case scenario type of moment for Kansas City. Seeing the Chiefs' current record doesn't feel real. Most would have laughed in your face if you told them that the 1-6 Dolphins, who looked like they were on the verge of firing their coach, would have a better record than the Chiefs. Most non-Chiefs fans have been waiting for this moment, and for now, they have to be thrilled.
Now Lawrence goes down, has to get up, breaks a tackle, touchdown